The movie opens in outer space with the starship, containing a crew and 5,000 passengers in hibernation pods. The starship is heading to the colony world of Homestead 2 during a mass exodus of Earth's population. Jim Preston, a mechanical engineer, wakes up in his pod with a computer voice telling him that soon they will be arriving at Homestead 2. The wristband on his arm is scanned, and the computer leads him to his cabin where he sleeps. The next day he goes to an orientation session about life as a colonist on Homestead, but he is the only one there. The computer cannot answer his question about why no one else is there. So he sends a message to the Homestead Company explaining that he is the only one awake and needs help. After a while he finds out it will be 15 years before anyone on Earth receives his message. A year passes as Jim makes use of the ship's entertainment facilities, but without other people, he becomes more desperately lonely. Jim trips near a pod with a lovely woman inside named Aurora. He studies her passenger profile and thinks she is perfect. He wrestles with himself about waking her up, knowing that it will doom her to die on the ship. He cannot stand the isolation after a year alone, so he manually makes her pod wake her up, but he hides before she can see him. The same computer wakes her up and leads her to her cabin to sleep. Aurora wakes up the next day alone and meets Jim. He tells her the truth about how long he has been awake, but he doesn't tell her that he woke her up. Aurora and Jim talk daily, discuss what can be tried to fix the pods. She asks why Jim left planet Earth. He says he likes to make things and fix things, but on Earth, things are replaced when they break rather than repaired. After some time of getting to know each other, Jim asks Aurora on a date, and she accepts. After they eat, he takes her to the spacesuit room, and there are 2 suits. They both get dressed and go outside. Aurora is excited, so they go to Jim's cabin and make love. They are happy, have their routine of exercise, watching the stars, taking advantage of the ship's entertainment and restaurant venues. Another year passes, and it's Aurora's birthday, and Jim plans a special surprise. He made a ring for her. Going in the bar, Aurora finds out by accident that Jim woke her up. Aurora is devastated and furious, and tells Jim to stay away from her. One night, she enters his cabin while he's sleeping and attacks him with her hands. The next day, Jim tries to explain himself, but Aurora screams at him saying that he took her life. While all of this is going on, the control room is more frequently getting alerts of system failures. One day Gus wakes up and appears on the concourse. He explains to them that the whole ship is in danger of becoming dead in space, which will doom the entire crew and passengers. The area first affected was in the main engine area, but they will have to do a manual inspection to tell where. At this point, Gus collapses, and Jim and Aurora take him to the infirmary and put him in the medical autodiagnostic scanner. There is multiple necrosis all throughout his body, and death is imminent because of the malfunctioning hibernation pod. He puts on his uniform and prepares to die, and gives Jim and Aurora his wristband so they can access the areas of the ship to fix things. Jim and Aurora learn that to fix the starship, the fusion engine exhaust has to be manually vented. Jim has to get into a spacesuit and go outside to fix it. He ends up having to go into the exhaust passage to open a flap, but it won't stay open unless Jim holds it open so that the manual vent will work. Aurora, now desperate not to lose Jim, argues with him over the radio, but she pulls the lever. Jim is pushed out, his tether breaks, so he tells Aurora goodbye. She runs to get into a spacesuit herself and goes to look for him. She retrieves Jim by grabbing his tether, but when they get inside, he is unresponsive. She drags him to the infirmary, and the autodoc says Jim is dead. Aurora uses Gus's wristband to get the machine to resuscitate Jim, and it works. He is alive, and she is relieved and overjoyed. Later, things are back to normal on the ship. Jim works on the autodoc and tells Aurora he found that using the command override he could put her back in hibernation pod, but he would be alone again. Aurora chooses to stay awake and live with him on the ship. 88 years later, it's the end of the journey, and the captain and crew are awake. They come to the Grand Concourse to find there is a huge tree, lots of trailing vines, vegetation, and birds flying. Aurora's voiceover is reading her story to the passengers, explaining how they made a good life where they were. If you enjoyed watching this movie recap, please support us with like and subscribe to motivate us. Thank you for watching.